Hey everyone, Cleo here, day 6 already of Bookmas 2018, and today I'll be discussing the books that most surprised me in 2018. Now most of these will have already been mentioned on the top 10 books of 2018 list, because when a book manages to surprise me, that usually means that I'm pleasantly surprised. The other ones are for tomorrow, for the disappointing books of 2018. And so I will be focusing on a couple of books that I mentioned in my top 10 of 2018 books. The first one that I want to mention is the one that was one of the ones that I read most recently, and that is Uncommon Type by Tom Hanks. Now I wasn't really expecting much when I went into this, because it's a book by a famous actor, and that can definitely mean that it's inferior. Not necessarily saying that actors cannot be good writers, but there are a lot of cases in which actors were given a they were given a book deal just so that, because publishers know that they will sell a lot of books. I'm not necessarily saying that this is one of the best books I've ever read, but it definitely was very charming, very nice to read, very fun to read. It is a short story collection, and I was very much engrossed in most of these short stories. You know, there were only, I don't even think there were any in which I had to push myself to continue reading. There was some in which I was less engrossed, but overall it was a very pleasant experience reading this short story collection. The second one that I will be mentioning is one that I really wasn't expecting. Well, I wasn't expecting it to hate it neither, but I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I liked it, and that is The Master and Margarita by Mikhael Bulgakov. So this is also quite recent. I finished this one in October, and it is a Russian classic, and I have mixed experiences with Russian classics. There are some that I really like Anna Karenina, but Crime and Punishment, which I had to read at Crime and Punishment, which I had to read at university, definitely was a bit of a different experience. However, I also liked the ending to Crime and Punishment, so maybe I like Russian literature more than I think. However, Russian literature is also hard to get through, especially since I find the names to be super confusing. But I totally embraced this in this book. It's a weird book, it's a disorienting book. It seems to be about nothing, but I still managed to get a lot out of it. For me, it was mostly a book about writing and the way that fiction shapes the world, in the way in which fiction can become a reality, in which a manuscript is more than just a manuscript. It transcends the written pages, it becomes a real creation. And so this is a book that I was not expecting to like this much. I was expecting it to be good, because most people find it to be good, but I was expecting it to be, I don't know, either too highbrow for me or too complicated for me, but I actually really thoroughly enjoyed it. It is not for everybody though, because most of the people that read it at the same time as me hated it, and I can definitely see why. It can easily be that you can easily read this and say this is about nothing. I just thought it was about a whole lot. Then I will also mention The Hate You Give by Angie. I wasn't necessarily expecting this to be a bad book or an okay book or anything like that. I was expecting it to be a good book. However, it was a YA book, and with YA I often feel like I get annoyed with the language in which it is written, or certain tropes that come into it, and I did not have this with The Hate You Give at all. I felt it to be very original, very well executed. There were probably some tropes in there, but if they were done correctly, in the sense that it didn't annoy or they didn't pop out to me. So yeah, I really enjoyed The Hate You Give, and think it's one of the best YA I've ever read. So if you haven't read it yet, definitely get around to it, because it was definitely very rewarding. And then the final book that I want to mention here, it's a bit in a similar, it's a bit similar to The Hate You Give, in the sense that it is a book of which I didn't have super expectations. So the final book that I'm going to be mentioning here is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste. It is very overhyped. It is very hyped book, and I usually do not like hyped books. So usually I feel like, okay, I have a different opinion than the masses, so as to speak. I find more problems with it because I like a little bit more challenging work than most people like, or a little bit more highbrow, if you want to call it like that. And so usually books that a lot of people like, for me, tend to be too much on the surface and not to go deeper than that. But Little Fires Everywhere I really liked. I mean, it's been a hyped book for last year, I guess. I think it was mostly popular in 2017. And also, yeah, I thought like, yeah, it's a bit like contemporary in that genre a little bit. That's what I thought, at least, going into it. And that's definitely not really my genre. But I really liked it. I liked the simplicity of it, I guess. For some reason I feel it to be very simple in a way, as it seems like not a lot is going on, but you really go deep into the character. So it's very much a character-based story versus a action-based story, which is not to say that nothing happens in the book, but the focus is definitely on the characters and delving into the motivations and the history of the different characters that are involved. So yeah, I was really just not expecting much of this book. I had zero expectations going into it, and that resulted in me being very pleasantly surprised with this book. Probably a lot more of these books this year were a surprise, but these are the ones that stood out to me, so these are the ones that I was highlighting today. Definitely tune in again tomorrow, because I will be discussing the disappointments of 2018. I will not say I had a lot, but I have very strong feelings about at least one of them. I also posted a trying not to rant review for that one, so let's see if I can not rant tomorrow when I discuss it again. See ya!